Yeah, so today they're doing the union negotiations and we'll know by 12:01 uh AM tomorrow, so after midnight, about if there's a lockout. So we'll know. But yeah, we'll see. So I'll start. So we're gonna learn about stakeholder analysis and primary and secondary data collection. And then we're gonna learn about how to carry out a personal interview and what the advantages and disadvantages of interviewing methods are. Today we're going to go through interviews, observation, questionnaires, physical measurement, and unobtrusive methods. Stakeholder analysis. So secondary research, literature review, is based on information that has already been collected by other individuals, often for reasons other than the project at hand. So they include databases like Statistics Canada, publications, research done by other individuals, published or unpublished. And then primary research can be collected through interviews, observation, questionnaires. So stakeholder analysis is good because it can show who we should survey through primary research. So then these stakeholders include owners, employees, customers/suppliers, competitors, regulatory bodies, governments, etc. Stakeholder research, various parties will have an interest in the outcome of the research. So researchers need to identify the stakeholders, assess their importance, select the stakeholders that we need for the study, and determine the impact from each option available from these stakeholders. So there's organizational stakeholders, which are internal, and then economic stakeholders, external with direct links, societal stakeholders, external with remote links. Yeah. So individuals or organizations can play various roles. Here are a few: the authorizer, information providers, the resource provider, influencers, implementers, gatekeepers. So then stakeholders are chosen through interest in the decision, power to influence outcome. And we need to determine who is affected by the study. So the questions are: how will the research outcome affect each stakeholder, especially those given high and medium priorities? How much of what each stakeholder wants is he or she likely to get? What are the stakeholders likely to do if they don't get what they want? And what is the probability that they will do it? So goals to minimize external pressure from stakeholders and maximize their support in their findings. So yeah, we won't do this because there's too little people. There's not enough people in the class. So I'll give you time at the end of the class to work on your research papers. So you can collect data for through interviews, this week interviews. So that's a good way to collect data. So an interview is a guided and purposeful conversation between two interviewer and interviewee or more people. It is not a casual conversation. Key will be to choose who to interview, which will be linked to the why. So so asking questions. Yeah. Interviews are important. Tax campaigning against the death tax would be better because people are more against a death tax than an estate tax. Like they're the same thing, but death tax sounds worse. So if you're campaigning against a death tax, you're going to do better with voters than campaigning against a estate tax. Also, climate change sounds better than global warming. So saying climate change, the saying climate change, the voters are less angry with climate change compared to global warming, even though it's the same thing. They just use different phrases that poll better in order to get to be reelected, basically, or win an election. So that's what they use focus groups in the early 2000s for. So yeah, like those clips, that clip showed all of this here. So these are more unstructured interviews. So like following up with the voters and not having a script, just kind of talking to the voters. So these unstructured interviews were very effective, like in the focus group rooms. And I know that I was reading Paul Martin's biography. Paul Martin used to be Prime Minister of Canada. He said that focus groups were more effective than surveys in a lot of cases. So yeah, like a lot of open-end questions they used in that clip. And then using training of the interviewer is important because it ensures that the interviewer asks the right questions. So that was a face-to-face interview. So it's good because you can see a lot of nonverbal cues, because on telephone interviews you can't see nonverbal, and you can connect with the focus group participants better. Telephone is a problem because you miss a lot of nonverbal communication, and more than 90% of communication is nonverbal. So the face-to-face unstructured interviews are better with the focus groups. The problem with Statistics Canada and the census is that it's a paper census and people fill it out on paper, and you don't get a lot of their nonverbal cues. And then also there's a lot of non-response bias. So non-response bias is when they don't state what they truly believe because they're embarrassed. Like they may keep it a secret, and that's a problem. That's the problem with surveys, because a lot of what people think is not doesn't come through surveys because they might be embarrassed by being honest. So yeah, there's interviewed, structured, unstructured, tactics, bias, following technique. So yeah, unstructured is better than structured in a lot of cases. Yeah, like except like structured would be better for unemployment statistics, GDP statistics, because those are all numbered statistics. It's not based on opinions, but seeing how people feel and think, it's better to unstructured through focus groups and group question sessions. So so yeah, Statistics Canada uses a lot of surveys, not a lot of focus groups. It's more survey based, which is good for number statistics, but it's not really good for how people feel about things. Like if you want to learn about how people think or feel, it's better to do a focus group. So yeah, like interviewing people through a focus group, you got to come up with questions, meet with your interviewees, and then like, so you have to uh contact the potential interviewee in advance, have like a room, and like let's say it's like 10 people surrounded, then you ask all of them. It's better, you have to select them randomly. So like you have to get all these people randomly selected in order for the data to be correct. So all the 10 people you get in the focus group, you got to kind of pick them randomly through like a random number generator or any sort of random process, and then have questions picked in advance. And then ask the most important questions first and decide your goals for the interview. So you could do this for a living. Like you could create your own company that does focus group research, and companies companies pay some big money for that business. So don't ask biased questions. Just try to ask questions that would questions that don't try to get a certain answer. So like don't ask, don't you think we could improve campus parking by building another parking garage? Uh, could ask questions like how do we improve campus parking? Don't try to make them don't try to make it a yes or no answer. Try to make it open ended where there's a non yes or no answer. Like it's more of a long answer. So yeah, leading questions rather than asking yes or no questions. So don't ask, do you think there is a parking problem on campus? Don't ask that because it's yes or no. Ask, what is your view on the parking situation on campus? Leading question, because you'll see how they feel about it, how they think, instead of trying to trying to get them to answer yes or no. So yeah, like what is your view on the parking situation on campus? I think it is a problem because there are many more cars than parking spaces. So you're getting how they feel or think about the question instead of, trying to get them answered a certain way. So yeah, that's a lot of good